Hi guys, Dane here, and today I'm going to be giving you my quarter 4 of 2024 favourite books. So these are my 10 favourite books I read across the month. I didn't read a huge amount from, when is it, October, November, December 2024. But we're going to go straight on in. So,
Dane reads.
In at number 10 we have S.D. Perry, Nemesis. And this is the novelisation of Resident Evil Nemesis. It was actually, I listened to quite a few of these via audio, but this one was uploaded by the Resident Evil YouTube channel. Free audiobook, I figured why not check it out. And it was okay. It did kind of capture the spirit of the game to an extent, but what you can't really capture in the book is that sense of when you're playing the game, you open a door and you never know what's on the other side. You have to be ready for action at all times. Whereas with the audiobook, there wasn't that kind of like jump scare vibe. It was more almost like psychological horror, that kind of thing. But there's some really good stuff in there about the lore of the Resident Evil series. It's also part of a series of books that covers, I think, the whole franchise. Or certainly quite a lot of it anyway. So yes, check that out. I'll link to the audiobook in the description, and also link to any reviews I've done of any of these. Although I don't think I've actually edited them. I think I've filmed a few of these, but anyway. At number 9 we have Martin Chuzzlewit by Charles Dickens. Don't have a huge amount to say about this, other than that I read quite a few Dickens books, again via audiobook, throughout this period. Martin Chuzzlewit was the one that stood out to me the most. It has pretty good pacing, but really it's the characters as opposed to the plot. The reason why I enjoyed this one. Beautiful writing as well. I always love reading Dickens's work because I like to see what England was like back in his day. Yeah, I'm not going to give you a full synopsis of it because it was a long old book and it would take me forever. At number 8 we have My Dad's a Policeman by Cathy Glass. So this was one of the quick reads books. I actually picked this up because my girlfriend Shay read it, and she related to it I think quite a bit, so she gave it to me. I didn't relate to it in terms of I haven't had similar life experiences or known people who've had similar life experiences, but it was certainly an interesting enough read. It's basically about a little kid who goes into foster care because his mum is an alcoholic. His little brother is loving life, him not so much so. So he kind of keeps trying to run away and stuff and go back to his mum. And yeah, it's pretty heartwarming. I think it's based on a true story as well. Then at number 7 we have Debra Bourne, Parkrun. So this is just a non-fiction book about Parkrun, which is a weekly free timed 5k run. It takes place all over the world, particularly in the UK, and pretty much every town in the UK has a parkrun. I'm a big fan of it. And yeah, it was interesting to read some more about the history of it. I actually read this and then gave it to my dad as his Christmas present. Now, since I read it, I believe Paul Sinton Hewitt, who is the founder of Parkrun, has released a book which is obviously from the horse's mouth. It's also more recent. So my big gripe, if I can call it that, with Debra Bourne's book was that I think the edition I had was published in about 2016, so it misses like 10 years of parkrun history, including there's been a lot of stuff happening over in France. Basically, the French government and parkrun can't decide on whether to allow it because the French government wants every participant to have a health certificate saying they can do it, which kind of goes against the point of parkrun. And yeah, it doesn't have any of like the stuff about COVID and how that impacted it, but it was still interesting to sort of see how parkrun started, and she's got lots of quotes from kind of important figures from early on in the movement. Okay, next up we have Mussolini, His Part in My Downfall by Spike Milligan. This is just another one of his war memoirs. Spike Milligan, mostly known for being one of the creators of The Goon Show. Very funny dude. His war memoirs are fascinating. I mean, the point is that he served in the war, and these are kind of his memoirs of his time. So obviously Mussolini, His Part in My Downfall, covers Spike's time in Italy. I'm a bit of a World War II nerd as well, so having World War II non-fiction plus humour, the two of them combined, I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah. Then we have The It Girl by Ruth Ware. So Ruth Ware is a thriller writer. She has been compared to Agatha Christie, and I don't really know why, because she's a thriller writer, not a mystery writer, really. But yeah, The It Girl, it follows the story of a young woman from university who everyone wants to be, and then one day she ends up dead. And we sort of follow kind of dual timelines, both the timeline of her time at university and then a timeline set in like the present day, when her ex-roommate is trying to come to terms with what happened. And yes, there are a few twists and turns along the way. It was a lot of fun, and it was also really interesting because the university stuff was set in Oxford, which is near to me. So yeah, cool. Okay, then we have Born to Run by Christopher MacDougall, and this is non-fiction about the Tarahumara, who are a Mexican running tribe, and Christopher MacDougall's kind of experience tracking them down. There's a 50-mile race, trail run race, that he writes about, including Scott Jurek, who is an ultramarathoner who I've met, took part in this race. But a lot of it is actually just about the history of running, the science of running, why we evolved to run, and all of that stuff. So some really interesting stuff for you if you are a runner. Yeah, good stuff. Then we have The Fantastic Book of Everybody's Secrets by Sophie Hannah. So Sophie Hannah I found to be kind of hit and miss. Like Ruth Ware, she's sort of a crime thriller author. And yeah, what's interesting in this one is I find it, because it's short stories, this collection, and I found that it worked really well. It suited her writing style a lot more than her longer fiction. Now, she is also a poet as well, so I don't know whether that has something to do with it. Like, it's just a poet thing that you tend to be better with shorter formats. But yeah, some cracking short stories. A lot of them are open-ended, so if that's your kind of, if you don't like open-ended stories, you might not get on with it. But yeah, some real kind of a real mixed bag. There's one about like a woman who is being stalked. With a big twist at the end. There is one, The Fantastic Book of Everybody's Secrets is basically about a woman who got fired from her job as an assistant at putting on literary events. And she's now compiling this book where she's getting people to write in with their secrets, and she's going to kind of create a fantastic book about it. So yeah, some really good stuff. Then we have The Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury. This is a super short read. I read it in one sitting, I think, on the exercise bike around Halloween as well. And it basically investigates the origins of Halloween through like a metaphysical journey through space and time. It's kind of like if Ray Bradbury had written Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, but with like 13-year-old characters. Yeah, they're sort of celebrating Halloween, and then they go and end up like traveling through time to discover the origins of it. So they end up like meeting mummies in Egypt and going to Mexico for the Day of the Dead and all of this stuff. Really beautifully written, very interesting book. I've not really come across much like it, and it's certainly not the kind of thing I would think of for Ray Bradbury. It's almost this is the kind of book where you can see how Ray Bradbury influenced Stephen King, even though it's more of a middle grade read. And finally, we have Eternal Treblinka by Charles Patterson, and this is non-fiction. It's about the way we treat animals. The title, Eternal Treblinka, is based on a factory farm. Is based on a Nazi concentration camp, and it draws parallels between concentration camps and factory farming. Actually, use a lot of the same techniques. The kill chambers are pretty similar. Henry Ford, who popularized the assembly line, which was then the Nazis were a big fan of that. Ford was actually the only American that Hitler named in Mein Kampf, at least according to Patterson. And yeah, basically the Nazis took assembly lines and applied it to human beings, and now modern day factory farming applies what the Nazis did to cattle and yeah, like sheep, birds, livestock, all that stuff. So pretty bleak read, but very important if you're at all interested in how animals are treated. Obviously, I'm already vegan. It's something I've been meaning to read for ages. I actually came across this book years ago when I was doing my research for my novel, Meat. And I only just got round to it. I actually got it. It was a Secret Santa gift from my Secret Santa from Vegan Runners. So thank you whoever got it for me, even. So there we have it. Those are my favourite books of quarter 4 of 2024. As always, don't forget to let me know in the comments what you thought of these books. If you read them, hit that like button if you've enjoyed this video. Hit that subscribe button for more. And I will see you soon for another bookish video. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.